I am Angel. I am one half of the GenX division of the real estate team, the update team at EXP. And I am Angel again. My husband is Daniel. And if you're like us, chances are we are the ones that get the call when something happens to mom and dad. And 9 times out of 10, our generation is going to be doing like, what's going to happen to the house? So I'm here to help you understand like how title and probate, the two things you really need to pay attention to before we even have future live streams about like when siblings don't get along and all of that. Let's just talk about probate and title. So here in South Carolina, there's certain wording that will make a big difference. In California, it's a community property state. And the reason I choose those two is those are the two I'm licensed in. And I can help you in any state in the sense of I can help you get a referral to an attorney or a realtor or a tax accountant or anything like that. But I am a realtor here in South Carolina with my husband, and then I'm also licensed in California as well. So having worked with clients that have had to deal with this, I know our generation is especially dealing with this, like, you know, our parents, most of them being boomers. And so I just thought, gosh, I wish somebody had told us what we didn't know. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. Again, I am your realtor. I am not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not an estate planner. I'm your realtor, or we are your realtors. And real estate, you know, generally speaking, comes into play when one or both parents pass. And we've both Dan and I have walked through having to lose our one parent, and I do not recommend it. It is not fun. It is very, very painful. So let's get started. Okay, let me look at my notes. So in South Carolina, it is not a community property state like California. So the verbiage makes a big difference here in South Carolina. If you're watching this, wherever you're watching this from, check your state. You're going to need to check your state and check how your deed is worded. But here in South Carolina, the way it works that you really, really want, like top priority, is you want your deed to say joint tenants with right of survivorship. That means one person passes, the other person can stay in the property without having to sell it, move quickly, go through probate, anything like that. Now, when the second parent passes in that same house, then we've got to put some other things in place. In California, it's a community property state, so both parents presumably would be on the title. Okay, this gets tricky with a couple of different things. Back to South Carolina. South Carolina, if it says tenants in common, that generally means you're going to be headed for probate. Probate is a very public process, anywhere from 6 months to 3 years. I've heard of taking long as 3 years. Good Lord. A property sitting with nobody in it for 3 years? Oof. And utilities and lawn work and just basic maintenance that's not being done in a home, or the estate would have to pay. Woo, that's a whole other video. But tenants in common is the one you don't want in South Carolina, because that generally means you're headed for probate. In California, like I said, it's a community property state. It can still get dicey if maybe somebody bought the house before they got married, or they bought it with the previous spouse and didn't change it to the new spouse on the title. You're not free and clear just because it's a community property state. So first order of business is check the deed on your parents' house. Well, check the deed on your house. First of all, start with your own, your own backyard first. Check the deed on your house. See how it is. If you're in South Carolina or California, if you're in another state watching this, well, first of all, let me know where you're watching this from. That would be nice. And then second of all, check your deed, because that single line can determine whatever is going to happen next. Okay. Let's talk about what probate is. Like I said, it's a public process, and it can really drag on because you have to let the state know that both owners have passed. You have to have somebody that's in charge of making the decisions for the house, and that is appointed by the state. Again, these are going to be future topics that we cover because honestly, I don't think our generation is really all that informed. I'm, being Gen X, it's like, who told us? The boomers? The boomers, it's everything. Every time we ask them something, it's none ya business. So if you have a parent that actually broke this down for you, you are top notch and you win all of the points because most of us were told it ain't none of your business. You'll deal with it when I'm gone. And deal with it, we've had to. And like I said, I've had to help clients that just had, like no idea where anything was kept, no idea where to even find title. By the way, if you're in that scenario, reach out because whether I'm your realtor, could be your realtor, was your realtor, or you have a realtor, we can find it in a hot second. So just reach out to a professional that sells real estate and they can help you find out how title is held if your parents left you a hot paperwork mess. So all that to say, probate is very, very public. Think of it like going through TSA. TSA, everybody knows you've got to take your belt off. They know if you've got a laptop, if you've got headphones, and what color socks you're wearing. Like there's no secrets when you go through TSA. And it, you have to do it or else you don't get to the other side of the process. A trust, however, is like TSA pre-check, which if you haven't invested in the time to figure out if your parents' property or your property is in a trust, we'll have that conversation in a hot second. But think of a trust as like TSA pre-check in that nobody knows what's in your bag. You don't have to open up all your crap. Nobody, you don't have to take off your shoes and you just go through and you get to the other side. That is a trust. I used to describe a trust like an umbrella. You need to put the homeowner's insurance. You need to have a bank account. You need to have the title of the home. Everything, the trust needs to own everything. Same thing. It's just TSA is a different picture. And it's private. None your business. Uncle Sam doesn't know, the world, the extended family. Nobody knows because it's all in the trust. So probate rhymes with state, public. Everybody knows all your crap or all your parents' crap, whatever. Trust, TSA pre-check, none your business, walk on through. That should be, hopefully those are two pretty distinct pictures to help you. And honestly, like our generation right now, we're some of us are still raising kids. Some of us are dealing with, what conversations our parents are willing to, divulge some of the stuff, some of the information. Some of us have multiple siblings, step siblings. Like that gets dicey really, really quick when nobody's having conversations. So the first order of business, I would say, is check your own house. Second is start to have the conversation with the folks because you're going to be handed that. Presumably you're the kid. You're going to have to handle it one way or another. You're either going to be in the middle of finding all the death certificates and dealing with the county that you live in and walking through the probate process and getting an administrator or you're the executor of the trust. And then there's other conversations that you get to have as the executor. So if you haven't had the conversations, it might be time to start having those. And that is as somebody that, I'm your realtor. I'm not your attorney. I'm not your tax accountant. We're not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do financially. But we're the ones that you're going to reach out to when it's time to sell mom and dad's house. And hopefully we can sell it and give you the proceeds so that you can honor the legacy in that way. So if you're watching this in another state, though, say you're in, Indiana or something, and you're watching this and you're like, I have no clue. And I know this is on the horizon. In our description of whether you're listening to this on audio or you're watching this on YouTube, thank you, first of all. Second, There's a referral form in there, and you just fill it out and you tell us what you need. Do you need an attorney? Do you need a realtor? Do you need an accountant? Wherever you are. Or if you want to share this with somebody that might need this information, they're getting on the cusp of, whatever, with their family, you might want to send them this information. Again, just trying to keep it simple and chaos free, because anybody who's lost a parent or lost a family member knows that death like turns up the heat on all the family dynamics. Am I right? Just a little bit. So I'm not going to go on too much longer. We're going to do other videos breaking down like what the executor of the trust does, what to do after you find that out. Like, okay, now what, Angel? Now what, Dan? Now I know it's not in the right name. How do I fix it? So we'll handle that in future videos. But right now, that's like step one: find out how the house is held. Find out how your house is held. And then if you are at the spot where you're ready to put something into a trust. Now, when we talk about a trust, just briefly, remember, stuff's got to go in it. You can't just form a trust and not put anything in it. So again, think of it as the umbrella, and you've got to put the homeowner's insurance in it. It's got to have its own bank account, by the way, because a trust cannot pay John and Susie, daughter and son. The trust has to get the proceeds from the sale, and then the bank account distributes it to John and Susie. So there's a lot of other steps that need to be done once you have it. But if you're just at that point of like, I need to just do this, go to getdynasty.com, getdynasty.com. And I think it's getdynasty.com/GenX. If you want to like let them know that we sent you. We're not sponsored by them. We just have a relationship with them that we tell clients and friends, like, just do the basics. It's free to a degree. You can get things started. And then once it gets a little more complex, you are going to need to like either pay higher within Get Dynasty or take what you have formed to an attorney in your area. So, but it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. So start there, getdynasty.com/GenX. And then, like I said, going forward, we're going to be doing more of this conversation. I am probate certified in South Carolina and have worked with probate attorneys and the probate process in California with several clients. So we can help you. If you're not in California or South Carolina, again, check the description either of the audio podcast or of this video, and there's a referral form and we can help you out that way. And honestly, this is not a song and dance of like, aren't we the best realtors that can help you? This is because we know our generation needs this conversation and we just decided to start it. Dan is taking care of his mama right now. She's having a procedure and he's helping her with that. So, that's just what we do, right? So just wanted to wrap this up with the information that you might need. I appreciate you taking the time, spending it here with me. There will be more of these to come. We'll see you next time.